Hey guys, insight number 3. We're going over to Zechariah 3, and Zechariah turns up around the same time as Haggai, maybe a few years different, and they have like a similar message. Haggai's was like, we don't know a whole lot from him because it's the second shortest book. So Obadiah's the shortest, and Haggai's the second, very short. Simple message though about temples and just get there and get it done. Zechariah though comes in, I think it seems to be that in timelines that people have put forward, they've worked it out, they've got the brains to do that. But it would seem that Zechariah comes in shortly after Haggai and then okay, the temple's being built, the people are working now, we need to invite Christ in, and he talks about the second coming, and he starts preaching to them about things that are going to happen in the future, some near future, some distant future as in our time, and just some things that we can be aware of to help prepare for that. So it's just really good advice, really, and very similar to the teachings of like Isaiah and so many of the prophets that teach now. It's just very similar. But in chapter 3, he talks specifically about the branch. Now it's in capitals, and that's another name for Christ, as in the branch. Like the only one, the. And if you look at that's in verse 8, you look at the footnote for that, it just says Jesus Christ, Davidic descent of. So it's that, back from, Joseph and his brothers and the 12 tribes and how Jesus comes through Judah. It's that branch that that's one of his names. He's called there because they didn't know at this point that his name is Jesus. They knew him to be Lord and they called him God, but they didn't know his name was Jesus. So they had other names for him, and one of them is the branch. So that's that part cleared up there. But this is Joshua's call, and we'll get to what Joshua needs to do and what Zerubbabel needs to do in the next insight, I think. But let's just look at this in general. In verse 2 it says, "And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord that hath chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire?" And then verse 3, "Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel." So there's an angel there. This is Zechariah having this vision thing. This vision that he's one of these people of, like, as a person, a prophet of seeing things and objects and how it works. And so this is an angel visitation of him, and he's showing Joshua in the state that he's in. And it goes on, like in verse 5, talks about how they cleaned him up, on verse 4, took off his dirty clothes, or whatever that meant, whether that was literal or whether that was just a transformation of his spirit. I'm not entirely sure. But that, like in the last line of verse 5, it says, "And the angel of the Lord stood by." So it's like people helped Joshua, but there was an angel watching over him. And that's true for all of us. There's an angel of the Lord waiting there to just help anytime. Verse 7 talks about how if you walk in the Lord's ways and keep his charge, then you'll be fine, you'll be welcome. Of course, everyone's welcome, but you'll have a place guaranteed. And in the higher parts of the court, rather than just being included in the feast. There's more meaning to that if you want to go into that. And then 9 and 10 is the work of Christ. The stone that's laid before Joshua, one stone should be 7. It's a little poetically, John does in Revelation, talking there. And then in 10, "In that day saith the Lord of the hosts, you shall carry every man his neighbour unto the vine and under the fig tree." And that's the Zion people. That is the gathering of everybody. Whether you believe in Christ or not, that is that time to gather everyone. And that is now. It's been happening for nearly 200 years of gathering everyone. It's a long process for earth time. For God's time, probably not. But the point I wanted to make in all of this, so that was just kind of the whole chapter, but invite Christ in. We always talk about inviting Christ in at the beginning. But have you ever thought that when you invite Christ in, you rebuke Satan out at the same time? At the start of every day, every project, every assessment, every calling, etc., we invite Christ in to help us. Do you rebuke Satan out at the same time? Because the minute The minute that you commit to doing anything for Christ, Satan is going to start picking on you and telling you you're not good enough and trying to tear you down. So you need to rebuke him at the same time. So this is the lesson that is being taught here in verse 2 there, and you see the following process of it. So Satan, the accuser, he's the accuser, is resisting Jesus' influence on Joshua. So because Satan's there whispering to Joshua about this, and you're useless, and you're dumb, and you're stupid, and you're ugly, the Lord's influence doesn't get through to Joshua because Satan is a louder voice at this point in time. So let's look at this. So our hope for peace and becoming are centered on Christ, in his mercy and in his grace. That is our hope for peace and becoming. If we truly want and desire to live in Christ's presence, we need to ask him into our lives, situations, circumstances, whatever, at the beginning, so we can form that relationship. Now, we know that principle. It is talked about often. It's not after all we can do. We invite him in and then do all we can do, and then still we're going to fall short and he fills in the gap. But you don't just do it by yourself. Ask him in at the beginning. We're learning that one. That one's something I talk about a lot. But equally, as soon as we commit to Christ, like I said, Satan enters in to tell us how useless, dumb, stupid, inadequate we are. Anything that's going to tear us down. And if it's not him, it's going to be someone else. It's going to be an antichrist come in and say the same kind of things. And there's members of the church, Christian people, that do this and don't realize it's antichrist behavior. And it's just not cool. I don't like it. I'm trying my best to not do it. I don't think it's appropriate. There's things that can be said that don't tear someone down, that are factual and good information, but that still don't tear people down. Some things just don't need to be said. You can think them and then think, okay, well, that's my human brain saying that, but I don't need to share that. So, anything to tear us down, take away our hope, peace, mercy, and grace. So, as you invite Christ in, like this is showing us here, Joshua wants to do that, and the angel helps him to be able to do that, and Zechariah is like seeing this. As Joshua's call happens, and we'll talk about that the next one, what his call actually is. As that happens, he invites Christ in and rebukes Satan out. So if you're going to invite Christ in to help you, rebuke Satan out and just tell him, no, I am not listening to your garbage today, thank you. Go away and ignore it. Trust in Christ and ignore Satan. Just out. Now, Sherry Jew, she said, there is one thing, sorry, I couldn't read my own writing. She said, there is one thing the power of God and the power of Satan have in common. Neither can influence us unless we allow them to. Isn't that true? So there's one thing that they have in common. The power of God and the power of Satan have in common. Neither of them can influence us unless we let them. So don't let Satan influence you. Let Christ influence you. It's way better. I promise you it is. And tell Satan, nope, go away. No thank you today. So there's a good lesson in there for us. So stay around. We're going to talk about Joshua and Zerubbabel's call. All right. I'll see you there.